The topic which I am going to discuss today is k-means clustering. So before getting into k-means clustering, I will tell you what is clustering. And before getting into clustering, what is clustering? It is an unsupervised learning. Then what is unsupervised learning? It is part of machine learning. So this is the flow. So we will see what is machine learning first, then we will see what is unsupervised learning, then what is clustering, and then what is k-means clustering. So I will brief you techniques till this, then we will move specifically into k-means clustering. So first, what is machine learning? So hope all of you know what is machine learning, because in previous modules we already discussed what is machine learning and what are its applications. But still I want to give you a brief idea about what is machine learning. Machine learning means it's a branch or a subfield of artificial intelligence which provides systems the ability to automatically learn without being explicitly programmed and improve from experience. So this is what machine learning. System will learn automatically from its experience, in brief. So machine learning has different algorithms and they are categorized into mainly three algorithms. First one is supervised learning, second one is unsupervised learning, and third one is reinforcement learning. So first one is supervised learning, then second one is unsupervised learning, I am using short forms here, then third one is reinforcement learning. So this is our topic today, unsupervised learning. But before that, I will tell you briefly what is supervised learning and what is reinforcement learning. So see, what is supervised learning? So supervised learning means the same way a teacher takes class inside a classroom. So here, I am giving system inputs in the form of x, y. So listen, this is my input, x, y. So here actually x is the input and y is the expected output. So listen, x is the input and y is the expected output. So I can say it as a labeled input. Labeled input. So suppose I am applying a function f over x. I will get a result t. That is my target output. So my next step is compare t with y. I am checking whether the one which I predicted using this equation, that is t, whether it's equal to the expected output y. If it is not equal, that means there is some problem in my function. So I have to do necessary corrections inside my functions. So I have to go back and do some corrections. I will give you an example. So there is an equation for line, that is mx plus c. We are all familiar with that. I am writing here ax plus b is equal to y. So here x is my input and I am applying a function over x, and the function here is ax plus b, and I have parameters a and b. So listen, when I am giving a value to x, that is my input, then I am setting the constants a and b, then I am checking whether I got a t and that is equal to y. See, listen, a, x plus b, x is my input and I am setting a and b parameters, then I will get an output. after this equation, that is t. Then I am checking whether t is equal to y. What is y? When I am applying a function over x, I am expecting y. So I am checking whether t is equal to y. If it is not, what do you have to do? X is an input. Then the things which I can change is a and b. So I will do some corrections on a and b. I am changing the values of parameters a and b. So like that, I can correct my function. So there is a supervisor. So here the supervisor is actually the labeled input. That is y. In a classroom, the teacher will check your problem. The same way, I can check my answer, whether it is correct or not, based on the expected value y. So this is like we are doing this problem with the help of a supervisor or a labeled input. That is why it is known as supervised learning. The next is unsupervised learning, another algorithm for machine learning. So here my input is x. I don't have a labeled input and I don't have a y, only x. This is similar to peer learning. Students are learning themselves. There is no supervisor. So here what happens, my x is x1, it can be x2, it can extend up to xn. It can extend up to xn. So this is my x. So this is my input. There is no labeled input. There is no supervisor. There is no expected output. Patterns or hidden patterns should be generated from the algorithm. There is no supervision. That is what unsupervised learning. I will tell you more. And before that, one more thing remaining, that is reinforcement learning. And reinforcement learning, similar to an agent. So it interacts with the environment, and based on the feedback from the environment, it corrects its functions. So it is like I am giving an input and I am getting an output. Then based on the feedback, it corrects. So here it can be a reward or it can be a punishment. So this is what reinforcement learning. So these are the three main types of learning in machine learning. So now we will move to unsupervised learning. So unsupervised learning means patterns are generated from the data without a supervisor. So there are many methods, and the one method which I am going to explain today is clustering. So clustering means if we have a large data set, it forms clusters among the data set. Clusters means groups. It forms groups inside the data set. So x1 or x2 can be a group, x3 to xn can be another group. So two groups are here. So how the groups are formed? Based on the features or based on the similarity of features present inside the data, the system itself generates groups without a supervision. That is what clustering. So this is what clustering. So now we are going to see. So clustering, I already explained what is clustering. Then next is applications of clustering. You are going to see applications of clustering. Then different kinds of clustering. Different clustering techniques. So among them, the one which we are going to see is partition-based clustering. And partition-based clustering again divided into so many. And the one which we are going to see is k-means clustering. So this is the agenda. Clustering, what is clustering? We already identified. Then different applications, different types of clustering, and different types are there. One among them is partition based, and partition again classified into so many, and what is k-means clustering. So what are the applications of clustering? What are the applications of clustering? So clustering means groups. Suppose I have a large document, I want to cluster it into different groups. Suppose I have a newspaper, I want to cluster the entire data into different sections like movie related news, sports related news, education related news. So entire data I can group into different sections. So that is what clustering. So document clustering is one of the applications. Image segmentation is another application. Suppose I have an image contains large number of pixels. So based on the color, dark red, light red, pink, they are all variations of red. So I can group all the pixels of red together, all pixels of green together, like image clustering is possible. Then from different images, sports related images, movie related images, like those kind of clustering is also possible. So document clustering, image segmentation, these are all applications of clustering. Then another application is we can use clustering as a pre-processing tool. Suppose I have a large data set and I want to perform classification on the data set. So it will be difficult to classify entire data. So before classification, I can apply clustering on the data set as a pre-processing tool. So entire data will be grouped and inside the group I can perform classification. So clustering as a pre-processing tool. That is again one application of clustering. So these are about applications. Next is different kinds of clustering. So different clustering techniques. So I can divide it into hierarchical clustering, density based clustering, partition based clustering, etc. So hierarchical clustering, there are so many examples: divisive, divisive, agglomerative. Two examples. Density based, one of the main algorithms is DB-scan. Then ours, partition, and the one is, there are so many algorithms, the one for today's topic is, that is k-means clustering. So this is how we can divide clustering: hierarchical, density, partition, main three categories. And k-means clustering comes under partition based clustering. So now we are going to see k-means. So k means k indicates the number of clusters. So I have a graph here, XY graph, and I have large number of data points. These circles represent data points. Suppose I am taking the case of a car. This will indicate, this axis will indicate its price, this axis will indicate its mileage. So two features, price and mileage. Based on that I am going to design whether the car is economic or not. That is one of my applications. Then the data points are spread like this. I want to apply a clustering like economic cars, costly cars, sports car, like anything I can do. So I have to group. So if I am applying k-means clustering here and I am fixing the value of k as 2, I have 2 clusters. So I am grouping, so based on the similarity. So what do you mean by similarity here? So in this case, similarity is based on distance between points. Distance between points. So I am roughly classifying, this is under one cluster, this is another cluster. So this is k-means clustering with k is equal to 2, and I grouped data based on the distance. So this is a summary of what is k-means clustering. Now we are going to see it in detail. So what is k-means clustering? So k means, I already told you, k means it indicates the number of clusters. Then, suppose I have large number of points. First thing I have to do is I have to fix the value of k. Normally, k value is given. For your exam point of view, k value is already given in your question paper. But normally in practical case research work, there are different methods to find k. One famous method is elbow method. So in your question paper or for your exam point of view, k value will be given. We are taking k as a random. So suppose I am fixing k as 2. That means I have 2 clusters. If k is equal to 3 means I have 3 clusters. Then from the given points, suppose if k value equal to 2 means from the given points, suppose I have 10 points, x1, x2, etc., x10. Suppose I have 10 points and the k means clustering, k value is 2 means 2 groups. So for dividing entire data into or 10 data into 2 groups, I need 2 centers. So based on the centers or centroid, I have to group it. So 2 centers I have to choose randomly. Suppose I am choosing x1 as 1 center and suppose this is x6 as another center. So I have 2 centers, x1 and x6. So first step is fix the value of k. Then second step is choose. If k value is 2, choose 2 centers randomly. If k value equal to 3, choose 3 centers randomly. So take number of centroids or number of centers randomly. That is second step. Then third step, find the distance between centroid and other points. Find the distance between centroid and other points. So third step is distance measurement. Distance measurement. So if I have 2 centers, here I have chosen x1 and x6. So find distance between x1 to x1, x2 to x1, x3 to x1, x4 to all the points. Same way find the distance between all the points and x6. Then the one which is closest to, suppose x2 is closest to x1 than x6, then x2 will join with x1. x3 is closest to x6 than x1, then x3 will join with x6. So similar way, remaining points will be grouped into or grouped with these centers. So that is what distance measurement. Then I will tell you the equations of distance measurement later. And then fourth step, once we got clusters, we have to find the mean value. Mean value of each cluster. We have to find the mean value of each cluster. Then that mean value will be the new centers. See, listen, initially we have taken centers randomly. Then we find distance between remaining points and centers. Then points which are very close to the cluster centroid are put into the same cluster. Then find the mean value of each cluster. Then that mean value will be new cluster centers. Then finally, fifth step. If it converges, you can finish. You can stop here. If it doesn't converge, again you have to do this distance measurement and grouping till it converges. What do you mean by convergence? If you are getting same mean in consecutive iterations, you can see the algorithm is converging. If you are getting same means or same clusters in consecutive iteration, you can say the algorithm is converging. If it converges, you can stop here. If it doesn't converge, again find the distance, again put it into group, again find mean. You have to repeat it again till it converges. So this is in short k-means algorithm. Then I will explain you, I will give you a demonstration with values. So here I am going to illustrate k-means clustering with the help of values. And before that, this is a formal way how we can write k-means algorithm. So here you can see one for loop, one outer for loop, then again one inner for loop, then again another for loop. So total 3 for loops you can see. The first one is k is equal to 1 to k. That means this is small k and 1 to capital K. So capital K, that much number of clusters are there. Then R of k, be a randomly chosen point from D. What do you mean by D? capital D is data set. Capital D is data set. So inside the data set we have values like x1, x2, x3, etc. Then R of k means we are choosing one of the values as random centroid. One of the values as random centroid. So R of 1, R of 2, R of 3. If I have 3 clusters, R of 1, R of 2, R of 3. So I am choosing 3 centers randomly. Then while changes in clusters happen, you have to do the remaining procedures if there is a change in cluster. I already mentioned you have to repeat the algorithm till it converges. So if it is not converging means there are changes inside the cluster. So if there are changes inside the cluster, you have to repeat it. So anyway, form clusters. Then k is equal to 1 to k, do. This is how the members are allocated into the cluster. See, you can see here the distance is measured. So the one which is closest, the centroid which is closest to the data point, that is what we are finding here. And x is an element of capital D. D is the data set. X represents elements inside D. Then first I am taking one value. Then k, it starts from 1 to k for R1, first centroid. Then first data, whether I am checking whether it is less than or equal to another centroid. J is again, you can see J 1 to k. So if I have 2 clusters, 1, 2, I am measuring all, I am doing operation with all points. R1 x less than or equal to R2 x. Like that I am checking. Then which one is having less distance, that will be assigned. So this is what the procedure. Then once all the points are assigned, I am repeating it for capital K. Once all the points are assigned, then I have to find the mean value. That is, compute new cluster centers. The vector mean of the points. I have to find mean. Then end. So I have to repeat the entire procedure till there are changes inside cluster members. If cluster members change, naturally the mean will change. So this is how we can represent k-means clustering in a formal way. And this is an example. So here this is your data set. How many records we can see here? We can see 7 records. How many columns? 2 columns. That means 2 features, or dimension is 2. This is a 2-dimension data set, or we can say 2 features are there and the number of rows are 7 means 7 records are there. So this is the information we get from this data set. So now I already told you k value will be given and it is given as 2, and I am going to perform k-means clustering on this data set. Then initialization, first step, randomly we choose following 2 centroids for 2 clusters. In this case the 2 centroids are M1 and M2. So listen, M1 and M2. So first centroid is this one. Then second centroid is 5.0, 7.0. See, listen, from the entire data set, I am choosing 2 centers randomly. I am choosing 2 centers randomly, and first one is this one, second center is this one, these 2 centers. Why 2? Because k value is 2. Then it is again mentioned here, these are the 2 centers. Then we obtain 2 clusters, this one. How we get these clusters? See, listen, you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 rows. Same as previous one, 7 rows here. Then here you can see difference in values. Centroid 1 and centroid 2. What do you mean by centroid 1? Centroid 1 is 1.0, 1.0. Centroid 2 means 5.0, 7.0. So here it is 1.0, 1.0. Centroid 2 means 5.0, 7.0. Then how I get this 0? 7.21. That is next question. So that is again explained in this PowerPoint with the second record. Second record, what are the values actually? Second record you can see it is 1.51, 2.0. Variable 1 is 1.5, variable 2 is 2.0. With these 2 values, how we get these 2 values? That is what explained here. Here I am measuring distance. So one more thing you have to see, that is how to measure distance between points. There are mainly 2 methods to measure distance between points. One is Euclidean distance and one is Manhattan distance. Euclidean distance and Manhattan distance. So Manhattan distance, otherwise known as city block distance. City block distance. One time there was a question in university question paper, apply K-means algorithm and use city block distance as distance measure. So students were familiar with Manhattan, but they don't know city block is an alternate name for Manhattan. So please remember that also. So two methods are there, Euclidean distance and Manhattan distance. You can use these two equations for measuring. So what I applied here is Euclidean distance. The equation which I applied here is Euclidean distance. You already learned as part of your mathematics course or in previous semesters, you already learned what is Euclidean and what is Manhattan. So the one which I am applying here is Euclidean distance equation. So you can see here my x1 is 1.0 and you can see here 1.0, 1.0 and 5.0, 7.0. These are the centers. Then I am applying this with between values 1.5 and 2.0. So you can see the equation a1 comma m2, m2 comma 2, 1.0 minus 1.5 whole square plus 1.0 minus 2.0 whole square. Then 1.0, 1.0, you know our first centroid. 1.0, 1.0 first centroid, 1.5 and 2.0 these two values. So I am measuring distance between centroid x1 and this x1, centroid x2 and this x2. Then distance measured, find the square, then apply square root on that. This is what Euclidean distance, you will get the value. Same thing I am applying for another one. So 5.0 minus next centroid. What is our next centroid? 5.0 and 7.0. Applying same here. 5.0 minus 1.5, then 7.0 minus 2.0. So you will get the values. So 1.121, 6.10. So those I have placed here. So you have to apply the same equation, that is same equation in all the records. Then you will get the corresponding distance value. You will get the corresponding distance value. Then how 1, 2, 3 comes into one cluster and 4, 5, 6, 7 comes into another cluster. That is again explained here. 1, 2, 3. So these two records, centroid 1 having less value compared to centroid 2. So these will be assigned to cluster 1. Then 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see this column having less value than this. That means for these points, distance towards centroid 2 is less than distance towards centroid 1. So these will be assigned to centroid 2. Hope you got it. Listen, 1, 2, 3, the distance between points and centroid 1 is less. For 4, 5, 6, 7, distance between points and centroid 2 is less. That's why they are grouped correspondingly. Then, so once we got the clusters, next step is find the mean value, and here the mean value is calculated. So the mean is 1.83, 2.33. For the second one, second cluster, we have two clusters. For the second cluster, the mean value is 4.12 and 5.38. Then, once I got the mean, again I have to form clusters with this new mean as cluster centers. So again, we have to use the same equation, only one difference. Instead of 1.0, the new mean will come. Instead of 5.0, the new mean value of second cluster will come. So 1.0 and 1.0 will be replaced with the new value 1.83 and 2.33, and 5.0 and 7.0 will be replaced by 4.12 and 5.38. Equation is same, only difference 1.0 and 1.0 will be replaced with 1.83 and 2.33, and 5.0 and 7.0 will be replaced with 4.12 and 5.38. Then again, by applying this equation with replaced values, you will get new distance, and again based on the distance we classify them into groups. So 1, 2, these two columns having less distance towards centroid 1, so they will attach with centroid 1. Others, if you analyze the columns 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this centroid 2, distance between points and centroid 2 is less, so they will be grouped into one cluster. So this is the new cluster. Again find the mean value and you will get the mean values. Then that is 1.25 and 1.5 and 3.9 and 5.1. Again, this is not same as previous mean. So it is not converging. So I have to do one more iteration. So one more iteration I have applied with the new mean. Then I got clusters like this. It is same as previous one, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means in my third iteration, I got same mean with the same as previous one. So I can say now the algorithm converges. So now we can stop the process and I can write the new cluster centers and the members of clusters. So this is what k-means algorithm, and this is a small illustration of k-means clustering algorithm. So you can stop k-means either when the algorithm converges, or there may be a threshold. When it reaches that threshold value, you can stop it here. Or in your question paper, it is specified like you can perform 2 iteration. So it's based on the conditions. If it is not, if anything is specified in your question paper, what you can do is you have to perform it until it converges. Converges means until you get same mean in consecutive iteration. So this is about k-means clustering. Thank you.